You reap what you sow, and the harvest is here. That they thought they were planting seeds of control, seeds of manipulation, seeds of betrayal. But what they didn't understand is that every seed carries a harvest, and sooner or later that harvest demands to be reaped. They lied thinking they were clever. They betrayed you thinking there'd be no consequence. They slandered your name, schemed behind your back, and moved with arrogance, thinking karma was just a myth for the weak. But here's the truth. Karma is the law of the unseen. And right now, that law is collecting nonstop. There's a season for everything, a time to sow and a time to reap. They may have felt untouchable in the moment. The applause they got for hurting you made them believe they were winning. They mistook the silence of the universe as approval. But it wasn't silence, it was setup. The universe was giving them rope, not to climb, but to hang the lies they clung to. And now, when they least expect it, the rope is tightening, not because you wanted revenge, but because justice moves on divine timing. You see, what they didn't know was that while they were laughing at your breakdown, life was taking notes. While they were sabotaging your name, life was documenting every motive, every action, every intention. And life doesn't forget. It returns what is owed, not always when we want it, but always when it's due. And now that harvest is ripe. Now, the same energy they used to break others is breaking them. The lies they told are suffocating their peace. The pain they caused is now a visitor in their own house, showing up day after day with no sign of leaving. They thought their fake smiles and pretty words would shield them from consequences. But karma isn't fooled by appearances. It moves past the surface. It judges the heart. And when the heart is polluted with greed, pride, envy, and cruelty, the price is heavy. It's why they can't sleep. It's why everything they touch keeps falling apart. It's why the things they once bragged about are now the very things slipping from their hands. Because karma doesn't just touch one area, it dismantles everything built on deceit. And while all of this is happening, you don't have to lift a hand. You don't have to seek revenge or explain a thing. Your silence is your weapon. Your peace is your protest. Because real strength doesn't react, it rises. And you, in your quiet strength, have risen. You've healed while they hid. You've evolved while they steamed. You've grown while they stayed bitter. And now the very ones who tried to bury you are watching the fruit of their own actions fall from the sky like hailstones of regret. But this isn't about you celebrating their downfall. No. This is about recognizing that truth always wins, that light always exposes darkness, that character will always outlast charisma. You kept your soul intact while they sold theirs for approval. You stayed grounded while they chased status. And now, when they need mercy, they're finding none, because they showed none. The universe doesn't forget. That's why karma is hitting them nonstop, not once, not lightly, but over and over. Because they didn't just hurt you once, they did it consistently, they did it intentionally, and they did it without remorse. So now, karma is matching that energy. And there's no pause button. There's no escape. There's no hiding from the echo of what they sent into the world. Everything is coming full circle. The people they gossiped to are now gossiping about them. The relationships they destroyed are becoming their source of loneliness. The doors they tried to close on you are now slamming shut in their own face. The truth they tried to bury is rising from the ground with undeniable force, and every day they're forced to face it. That's the reality of reaping. It doesn't care about timing. It doesn't care about regret. It only cares about balance, and that balance is being restored now. But here's the powerful part. You're still standing, stronger, wiser, calmer. You didn't need revenge to see justice. You didn't need to expose anyone to see the truth rise. All you did was stay true to your path. And now your elevation is the loudest response. Your peace is the greatest revenge. Your success is the echo that bounces off the walls of their own guilt. And that's something karma makes sure they hear, loud and clear. So don't waste energy looking back. Don't worry about whether they see what's happening. Oh, they see it, they feel it, they're living it, and it's relentless. Because karma doesn't knock once and leave. It visits repeatedly until the lesson is learned, until the heart is broken enough to be humbled, until the pain they caused becomes their awakening, and even then, karma will stay until the soul is fully cleansed of what it once took pride in. You, on the other hand, are free. Free from the weight of what they did, free from the need to prove anything, because what they thought they got away with is now screaming in their conscience. And what they never expected was that the very person they tried to break would become untouchable in peace and purpose. Remember this, you reap what you sow, and the harvest is here. The soil of life doesn't forget what was planted. Whether it was love or lies, kindness or cruelty, betrayal or loyalty, it all grows. And eventually it all comes back. So keep your hands clean, keep your heart pure, keep your spirit aligned, because while karma is hitting them nonstop, you're rising nonstop, and there's nothing they can do to stop that either. What they meant for evil has boomeranged back. They planned it in secret, whispered your name with venom, laughed behind closed doors thinking they had you figured out. They tried to tarnish your name, destroy your reputation, and leave you broken in places they never expected you to recover from. But what they failed to understand is this: the universe doesn't turn a blind eye to cruelty. And when you touch the innocent with malicious intent, that same energy circles back with vengeance. What they meant for evil has boomeranged right back to them, harder, heavier, and without pause. They thought they were slick, moving in shadows, using manipulation as their weapon. They smiled in your face and stabbed you in the back. Their actions were deliberate, not accidental. Their betrayals were planned, not impulsive. Every word they spoke to harm you was said with confidence. Every plot they devised, they believed would leave you shattered. But what they didn't realize is that life has a built-in justice system, one that doesn't require you to retaliate, because it does the job perfectly on its own. Now the same darkness they tried to drag you into has become their reality. The same rumors they spread about you are now being whispered about them. The same people they turned against you are now turning on them. It's not a coincidence, it's not bad luck, it's karma, hitting with precision. It's the boomerang effect of hatred. You can't throw out bitterness and expect joy to come back. You can't spread falsehood and expect peace. What you send out always finds its way home. And for them, home is now a battlefield of their own making. And here's the part they never saw coming. You survived. You got back up. You kept walking with dignity. You didn't stoop to their level, even when everything in you wanted to. You kept your head high when they tried to drag your name low. You kept your hands clean when they threw dirt. And while they celebrated what they thought was your downfall, you were being built stronger in silence. They threw you into the fire, hoping it would burn you, but it refined you instead. They thought they could break you, but all they did was reveal who they truly were. And now, that truth is costing them, because the masks they wore are cracking. The lies they told are unraveling. The people they manipulated are waking up. The chaos they created is now following them into every space they enter. And no matter how hard they try to hide, the storm they created has their name written all over it. There's something poetic about how life handles betrayal. You don't have to scream. You don't have to seek revenge. Just sit still long enough, and life will show you justice. And that's what's happening now. The same energy they used to tear you down is now tearing apart their own peace. The same plots they used against you are crumbling their own foundations. They're running from a mess they created and realizing they can't outrun consequences. What they meant for evil has become their mirror. Every toxic word, every manipulative act, every false narrative, they're all echoing back with full force. And the irony? The people who once believed them are now watching it all unfold. They're seeing truth rise from the ashes. They're realizing the real villain wasn't the one being talked about, it was the one doing all the talking. That's the boomerang effect. It exposes, it humbles, it repays. And while their world is crumbling, you're rising, quietly, powerfully, gracefully. You're no longer trying to explain yourself, no longer looking back, no longer wondering why they did what they did, because now it's clear it wasn't about you. It was about their insecurity, their jealousy, their brokenness. They didn't destroy you because you were weak. They tried to destroy you because your light irritated their darkness. And now, that light is shining brighter than ever, while they're lost in the very shadows they tried to throw you into. They underestimated the power of resilience. They didn't think you'd recover. But your growth is the loudest revenge. Your peace is the proof that their plan failed. Every step you take forward is a reminder that their evil didn't win. And even more so, it's a reminder that karma doesn't skip anyone. No one gets away with planting destruction and reaping harmony. What they meant for evil has boomeranged. It's relentless, it's real, and it doesn't stop until balance is restored. That's why they're restless. That's why doors are closing in their face. That's why the very joy they tried to steal from you is absent from their own lives. They may try to pretend, try to keep up appearances, but behind the mask, they're drowning in everything they dished out. It's poetic. It's precise. It's justice. So don't let their downfall distract you. Don't let their pain pull you back into old battles. Let karma finish what it started. Let life handle the mess they made. You don't need to gloat. You don't need to announce anything. Your peace is already screaming the truth. Your progress is already proving the point. You don't need revenge. You're already winning. And what's meant for you is protected from their destruction. Keep moving. Keep healing. Keep evolving. Because what they meant for evil has not only returned to them, it's elevated you. It's separated you from what was never for you. It's awakened your purpose. And most of all, it's proven that what's done in darkness always comes back to light. Always. So trust the process, trust the justice, and remember, boomerangs don't miss. Especially when they're carrying the weight of someone else's hate. Let their lesson be your reminder. Walk with integrity. Speak with love. Move with truth. Because whatever you put out into this world will circle back. And for them, that circle is closing fast. What they meant for evil is now their storm. And it's only just begun. Silence is the loudest payback. There's a power in silence that few people understand. It's not weakness. It's not surrender. It's not fear. Silence is strength wrapped in restraint. And when someone wrongs you, when they try to humiliate you, betray you, drag your name through the mud, your silence becomes a weapon more devastating than any revenge you could plot. Because silence speaks. Silence exposes. Silence forces people to sit alone with the truth they tried to bury. And that's exactly what's happening now. They're being tormented by the same silence they once mistook for defeat. They expected you to lash out. They thought you'd scream, fight back, defend yourself in every room they dragged your name into. But you didn't. You chose grace. You chose composure. You chose to walk away and let the storm rage without ever lifting a finger. And now? That storm has turned on them. The lies they told, the stories they twisted, the masks they wore, it's all unraveling in front of them, and they can't understand why. But the truth is simple. Your silence unsettled their spirit. They were banking on your reaction. They needed it, because if you had responded, they could have flipped the script, they could have pointed fingers, they could have kept manipulating the narrative. But when you said nothing, when you chose to stay silent and heal in private, you took away their control. You removed their ability to keep spinning the story. And now all they have left is the reality of what they did, and that's haunting them more than your words ever could. They underestimated your stillness, but silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. It's full of power. It's full of judgment. Because while you've been quiet, life has been loud on your behalf. While you kept your mouth shut, karma started speaking. And every closed door they face now, every restless night, every broken relationship, they're all consequences unfolding in that same silence they mocked. You see, real payback doesn't always show up with noise. Sometimes it arrives in the form of peace they can't disrupt. Your success is louder than any insult they ever whispered. Your healing is louder than the pain they tried to cause. Your growth is louder than their ego. And the best part? You didn't have to broadcast a single thing. You didn't have to scream your truth. You just lived it. You just kept rising, quietly, steadily, consistently. And now they're stuck watching, unable to stop the elevation that's happening in your life. Because that's what happens when you hand the battle over to time and truth. They do the talking for you. They're confused, bitter, maybe even angry, because the very silence they thought made them superior is now swallowing them whole. They see you shining, and they can't understand why. They see doors opening for you while theirs are slamming shut. They thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were a seed. And now you're blossoming in ways they never expected. And the more they watch, the louder your silence becomes. It's deafening to them. Because in that quiet, they hear their own conscience. In your peace, they face their own chaos. You didn't have to fight them. You didn't have to explain your side. Life has a way of making things right without your involvement. You just kept showing up. You stayed humble. You stayed focused. And that's what bothers them most. Not that you're winning, but that you didn't need to destroy anyone to get there. That you didn't clap back. That you didn't beg for validation. You simply rose. And your rise is their reminder. It's a reminder of everything they lost when they chose ego over honesty, when they chose manipulation over authenticity, when they chose to hurt instead of heal. And now, the silence they used to interpret as power is surrounding them like a mirror they can't avoid. No applause, no audience, just their own reflection and the consequences of their actions. And that's the kind of justice that cuts deep, because when the noise stops, all you have left is the truth. And they're being haunted by it. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them sit in that silence. Because your response doesn't need to come in words. It comes in peace, in freedom, in elevation, in divine protection. You've outgrown the chaos, you've outlived the lies, and now your stillness speaks volumes. You don't need to go back and explain your absence. Your progress has already answered every question. Your silence has already told the whole story. And understand this, your silence wasn't passive. It was intentional. It was a choice to preserve your energy, to protect your peace, to focus on your future. And that's what's eating them alive now. That you didn't need a stage to win. That you didn't crumble under pressure. That you didn't retaliate out of pain. Instead, you turned the pain into power. You let their chaos sharpen your clarity. And now, You're living in the freedom they'll never know until they face the truth. There's no need to scream revenge when life is already balancing the scales. Let them deal with what they created. Let the silence speak the justice you never had to voice. Because truth always returns, pain always teaches, and silence always reveals. You didn't lose when you walked away. You won the moment you stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was elevation. So stay quiet. Stay focused. Let your peace disturb their demons. Let your glow irritate their guilt. Because the loudest payback is the life you're building without them. A life free from drama, free from betrayal, free from pretending. Let your silence echo in every space they once tried to control. And know this, they hear it, loud and clear. Their apologies can't stop consequences. There comes a point when the damage is done, when the lies have already cut too deep, when the betrayal has already left its scars, and in that moment, when karma comes knocking, they begin to panic. They realize the weight of their choices. They see the destruction they caused. And suddenly, the same mouths that once spoke poison now come with apologies. But here's the truth that stings. An apology doesn't erase the harvest. Saying I'm sorry doesn't cancel the consequences. It doesn't reverse what they've sown. Because while forgiveness is divine, karma doesn't take apologies. It takes account. They're not sorry for what they did. Most of them are just sorry they're being exposed. Sorry they're finally feeling the heat of the fire they set for someone else. The timing of their apology reveals everything. It only comes when life starts turning on them, when doors close, when peace escapes them, when the very energy they sent out circles back and starts dismantling their own lives. That's when they show up with soft voices and tearful eyes, hoping to be spared. But karma doesn't flinch at tears, it deals in truth. They thought they had time, thought they could play with your heart, lie to your face, betray your trust, and walk away untouched. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get to break someone and walk away whole. You don't get to crush someone's spirit and then pray for a blessing and peace. Everything has a price, and the bill has finally landed at their feet. Their apology might be sincere. It might even be heartfelt, but it doesn't exempt them from the lessons they need to learn, the pain they need to feel, and the reality they now have to live in. And here's the thing. They didn't just hurt you. They manipulated, deceived, and did it repeatedly. Their actions were calculated. Their silence was loud. Their betrayal wasn't a slip, it was a strategy. So when the tables turn and they find themselves on the receiving end of what they once dished out, they want grace, but they didn't offer grace. They want understanding, but they offered none. They want healing without accountability, redemption without consequence. But life doesn't operate on convenience. It operates on principle. You may forgive them, and that's powerful. Forgiveness sets you free. But don't confuse forgiveness with restoration. Just because someone says sorry doesn't mean they're ready to change. And even if they are, it doesn't mean you owe them a seat at your table again. Because some people apologize to escape consequences, not because they've changed hearts. They're sorry for the storm, not the lightning they created. They're sorry for the reaction, not the initial betrayal. And that's not repentance, that's regret. You see, when karma begins its work, it exposes everything, not just actions, but intentions. It brings to light the motivations behind the betrayal. It reveals who truly cared and who simply played a role. And once that truth is out, no apology can unwrite it. That's why they're struggling now, because they're not just facing you, they're facing themselves. They're seeing the person they've become, the path they chose, and the damage left in their wake. And no amount of "I'm sorry" can shield them from that reality. Some of them will come back acting like nothing happened. Some will minimize their actions. I didn't mean to. It wasn't that deep. You're too sensitive. But deep down, they know. They know what they did, and they know the pain they caused. They just didn't think you'd walk away. They didn't think you'd rise without them. And now that you're flourishing in their absence, their apology is just a reflection of the guilt they can't shake. But here's the part that sets you free. You don't need their apology to heal. You never did. Healing doesn't require them to admit anything. Healing comes when you accept that their choices had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their character. You don't need to hold on to bitterness, but you also don't need to pretend that words are enough to rebuild what they broke. Forgiveness is for your peace, but boundaries are for your protection. Their apologies can't stop the consequences. They can't undo what life is now returning to them. They're learning, slowly and painfully, that actions echo, that truth always rises, that people you thought were disposable end up becoming your biggest regrets. And you're no longer waiting for an apology to validate your pain. You're no longer stuck in the loop of wondering why, because life has given you clarity, and them, consequences. Let them feel it. Let them walk through the very wilderness they led you into. That's not revenge. It's alignment. It's justice. It's balance. Because karma doesn't move off emotion. It moves off energy. And the energy they put out was toxic, manipulative, selfish. Now that energy is revisiting them like a mirror they can't avoid. That's the cost of treating people as if their souls didn't matter. You may never hear the apology you truly deserve. And that's okay, because their remorse isn't your responsibility. What matters now is how you move forward, how you protect your peace, how you rebuild in silence, grow in wisdom, and let your life speak louder than any explanation ever could. Let them sit with their choices, let them navigate the consequences, and understand this: when karma comes to collect, no apology can stop its hand. So rise, walk tall. Let your silence, your healing, and your peace be your answer. You're not bitter, you're better. You're not cold, you're careful. And while they wrestle with regret, you're walking in restoration. Their apologies may come, but you already made peace. And that peace, it's something they may never find until they face the truth without expecting to be excused from it. Stay out the way and let justice work. There's a moment in every journey where you have to make a powerful decision. Not to react, not to chase closure, not to confront the people who did you wrong. Instead, you choose to step aside, to stay out the way, and let life, let divine justice do what it does best. Because what you can't fix, God will expose. What you can't correct, karma will correct. And what they thought they got away with is already working its way back around. So stand still. Don't chase revenge. Don't lower your energy to match their hate. Stay out the way and watch how justice takes center stage. It's hard, isn't it? Watching people who hurt you walk around as if nothing happened. Seeing them smile, win, and pretend like their actions had no consequences. But don't be fooled. The universe sees everything. God misses nothing. People might fool others with charm and masks, but the truth always returns with a vengeance. And when it does, it doesn't need you to speak for it. It speaks for itself loud and clear. The ones who broke you, betrayed you, used you, and discarded you, they thought you were too weak to rise. They thought your silence meant defeat, but really you were stepping back. You were letting go. You were surrendering the fight to something greater than yourself. Because when you stop trying to make people pay and let justice step in, the results are undeniable. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove your point. All you need is patience, because truth, justice, and karma are already on the move. And make no mistake, justice doesn't always look like public exposure or loud punishment. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's subtle. It shows up in the peace they can't find, in the joy that keeps slipping away from them, in the success they can't sustain. That's how justice works. It doesn't just take back what they stole. It reveals who they really are when no one's watching. And that's a kind of judgment no one can run from. Let them say you're being distant. Let them accuse you of holding a grudge. You don't owe them a response. Staying out the way doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're wise. You've learned that energy is precious and some battles aren't worth your breath. Because people don't change when you fight them. They change when life hits them. And if it's correction they need, life will give it to them in full with interest. Staying out the way is an act of trust. It's trusting that the truth always rises. It's believing that integrity doesn't lose, even when it looks like the liars are winning. It's knowing that what's meant for you will never require betrayal to keep, and what's not meant for you will always fall apart, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. When you let go, you're not giving up. You're handing it over to the divine courtroom, where every act, every word, and every motive gets judged without bias. Justice moves slow, but it moves sure. And while it may seem like they're living freely, don't be fooled by the highlight reels. You don't know what's happening behind those doors. You don't see the sleepless nights, the guilt that creeps in, the blessings that dry up. Because you can't hurt people, break trust, and damage hearts without eventually having to face that mirror. Life will always circle it back. Your job now is not to track their downfall, but to focus on your rise. Every time you choose peace over pettiness, healing over hate, you're growing. You're rising. You're showing the universe that you trust the process. And in that trust, doors open.